Hello, metal puzzle fans that like insects as well. So, I got this online, of course, and it came in. These boxes are the original retail boxes, but these came in cardboard boxes, which were then bubble wrapped in envelopes, and then those are all in a different one big shipping box. So, suffice to say, everything looks brand new. If you want to give this thing away as a gift or something like that, you should be in good luck. I got the optional guns you can put on this thing. There's two different kinds, and we'll get to those later because they're the options. But here we have the mechanical spider in purple and blue color. Um, yeah, so you can get, there's other colors, and I debated for several weeks deciding which one to get. Like the Black Widow one, it looks like a Black Widow, but I don't think you'd be able to see the interior parts through the smoky, dark gray plastic that one comes with. So this one looks kind of more transparent. So that's why I decided to go with this. And I might put an LED in there. Oh boy, small parts, stay away from babies, metal parts. A bunch of stuff here. General of Wealth Ruyi is the product name. Brand is Long Ling. None of this is listed online. Those descriptions. You just look up mechanical spider. That's how you'd find it. The brand I think is called Zero Plane. That's what this sticker is. Every toy should come with a branded sticker of sealing, so you know you're buying a new product, or if it's broken, the tape that is, you know it's not new. Look at this elaborate assembly guide. This is pretty crazy. Glossy paper. Oh boy, so a lot of parts here. So rotation shaft A parts, leg parts B, body parts are C. Then you got tail is A, and combination E, not sure. There's some color coding in these parts as well. And I'm gonna assume like you get 6 parts of this number 2 piece, or 9 parts of something. That makes no sense to me. Or no, here it is. This is part number 8 and you get 2 of them. Part number 6 you get 2 of them. Part number 9 you get none of them. Alright, so I guess you can check that out. Well, you know, I'm just going to flip through this in case you lose your manual or something, or maybe you buy this in 20 years and you want to take it apart and then put it back together. Hopefully it's all in frame and hopefully it's in focus. But I'm going to assemble this real time, although not real time. I'm going to assemble it and I'll fast forward it, and then through YouTube you can choose to slow it down or fast forward it or just skip over the entire thing. We'll see what happens. Okay, boy, 18, 19 pages. Well, you know, looking at these pages, there's only like 5 steps on each page. They seem like pretty simple steps, so I think you could actually give this to a small child, and they would probably be able to put it together because it's very well done. You know, you can see every part floating off in space, its part number, and the directions in which they're assembled. It's kind of like an IKEA kind of assembly thing. So this is what our goal is. You can buy it just like that, but again, I bought the 2 upgrade weapon styles. Okay, so now let's look in here. So we have some vacuum form stuff here, and these are all clear plastic blue, and oh, this actually has LEDs. Pretty impressive. Nice. There's actually tweezers. There's a toolkit. Those are some low-grade tweezers, but the other tools look pretty good. Let's take a look. Yeah, you got the 3 hex wrenches, and this is an interesting cheap tool, but it looks pretty neat. It's like laser cut or something. Oh, there's 2 of them. So there's 3 nuts and I guess 1 bolt head, hex bolt head. These things, in case you lose them. Again, maybe you buy it later and you don't have the tools. This is a M2. This one is a 1.5. And this one is probably, nope, this is 2.5. So 1.5, 2, and 2.5 hexes. That's what you're going to need. I'm not even going to use those. I'm going to give those away. Okay. So now you have a whole bag of nuts and bolts. And then these are elasticated. And they are labeled, you know, just like the manuals. So the parts look like they're laser cut, but also maybe tumble finished because they don't seem to have any sharp edges. Let's put this aside. Let's take one of these open. Look at the edges of these. Clear elastic again. So, oh, 2 clear elastics. You gotta be careful because this could just explode and then it'll be assembly a lot more difficult. But in particular, I want to see if there's any sharp edges because, you know, if you do give this to a kid, that would be dangerous. I would say no. All the edges are broken off. Yeah. So you see there's some very fine scratches. I think that what they did is put it into a media tumbler, and that's what knocked all the edges off. And so some of the abrasive marks might still be visible, but they're going to probably end up under that transparent plastic anyway. So this is really well thought out. See, all the numbers are actually in the vacuum forming. That's very impressive. All right, bag B, E, C, A, D. So that's all labeled out properly. Yeah, it's going to take a long time to put this together, but I don't think it'll be actually difficult. It's just a lot of parts. Did it even say on the box how many parts? I don't see anywhere on here the amount of parts this thing comes with, but it's got to be in the hundreds at least, right? I wonder if it's over 1,000. Not sure. Maybe the listings say it, but all right. Well, luckily I've got 2 electric drills, so that's going to help maybe speed things up. If they're going stainless to stainless fasteners, I don't think I'd be able to cross thread them. If it's going into aluminum, though, I'd probably use a hand screwdriver or driver bit. All right, so now it's time to fast forward if you want, but we'll see at the end of this spider. done, and I gotta say it's a pretty great kit. I have a very great appreciation for this in most respects. There's still, some issues with most products that you have to put together. So first I just have to explain, these two middle legs are this like short legs. The outer legs are the long legs. Hopefully you can actually see that here if I put them kind of next to each other, right? This is simply a longer leg, right? So I want to mention that because when it comes to assembling these legs, the instructions kind of break it up across pages and it doesn't make the greatest sense. So let me show you in the instructions what's happening. Okay, so first you're putting together the tips of the legs. Alright, that's fine. The other tips, then you're making kind of like the thighs, and it says left thigh, so I always just placed all the left parts over here, the right parts over there. Now here's the issue. This is really hard to assemble. You're assembling this to this, but this thing just floats in space right now. Nothing's keeping that in place until you go to the next page. So when you get to page 7 of all things, because this is the other side of the body, then you have to put these plates on top of this, and then you bolt through, and that's what keeps the middle piece from falling out. So it's kind of like you want to have page 5 and page 7 on this done at the same time. So it's quite difficult if you don't do page 7 and page 5 at the same time. Alright, so then after you've got those things assembled, you put on these little plastic pieces, and if you tighten these plates too much, the plastic piece has a hard time going in. So you probably want to leave these loose. And I was thinking, well, since these don't have any pivoting, maybe I won't use thread lock. Bad idea. These nuts are so loose that just fondling the object, like 5 of them just unthreaded themselves. So I would recommend some blue thread lock, some medium strength, or even purple, light strength, just for these areas because they're going to fall apart and it's very annoying. The actual main pivots use nylox, so you don't have to worry about that too much. There's no way they can fall off because they have a nylon lining. Alright, so be mindful of that. Okay, so then you put the thighs and the tips together. There's two of each, 2 right long, 2 right short, 2 left long, 2 left shorts. So it's just kind of like doing the same thing here. Okay, just on the other side, right. You get the hang of it after you do the first few. All right, so then the jaws. There's 4 holes here, but only 2 of these holes are threaded, so I have to undo mine. You want the holes, the bolts to be vertical. So make sure you look for the threaded hole first before you put this whole assembly onto that plate. Otherwise, you're just going to have to do it again. Okay, there's a cool little LED that'll pop in there. This section, the plates didn't want to really stay parallel because there's only one piece here. So you're just going to have to kind of fiddle with it until later on when something else makes it more square. So these things here, you have this big brass standoff, and that's holding all these ribs that make the ribs of the thing. I thought it would make sense if you thread lock these, because if they come loose, it's going to be really hard to, well, I guess you could actually take it apart still, even with the thing fully assembled, so maybe it's not a big deal. Okay, so that's nice and easy, simple. Okay, this is all straightforward. This is a little confusing. Just be mindful, these look the same, but they're not the same. This one's bigger, so B03 is not A05. I had to go back and swap it out. Also, you probably want to thread lock the end of this bolt with the tip there, because when I finished, mine was all loose, one of them. Okay, this is the only real issue here. The 2 main chassis plates, this is one half of it, the other half comes next. There's a little brass standoff that goes in between here, and I feel like the 4mm bolt is too small. But by this time in the assembly, you have so many extra nuts and bolts. Here are all the extra nuts and bolts. So I just popped in an M6 into this one, and that's fine. This piece is die cast, and mine had some extra flash. So you want to make sure these are smooth surfaces, or you're not going to be able to put the tail on. So check that and make sure there's no extra molding flash on that metal. Alright, so one other thing you have to be mindful of, the bags for these little spacers come in two different bags. Let me show you the other side here. So the longer spacers go in between these two plates, this plate and that plate. The shorter spacers are out here. So I got them mixed up and I had to take the whole thing apart again. Okay. Then the light assembly here. You want to make sure you remove the plastic insulation or you'll never be able to turn the lights on. They're controlled by a magnet. But these 5 long bolts, you want to torque them down evenly. The battery actually rests inside of that hole, as is indicated here, and there's 5 bolts going around. In the center of this assembly here, sometimes it might collide with the actual PCB board there, so you want to be really careful and go slowly or you'll crack your LED board there. And also, this is quite obvious, but you want the longer parts touching the electronics board and the flat side touching this previous clear plastic assembly. Okay, so that's just the other side. Yeah, nothing, no problems there. No problems there. Alright, I tried to assemble this with like 1 leg, then 2 leg. It's too difficult. You really just want to put all the bolts through the piece with the slots, put it on the table upside down, put all the legs on then the spacers, then the plate with 2 holes in it on top of that, and then the nuts. You want to do it all at the same time, all 8 legs. Otherwise it'll take forever, I think. I mean, you could do it, but it'll take forever. Okay, so because I had that extra flash here, yeah, this is annoying. I had to go and file it off when I got to this point. There are some spring washers to keep this thing kind of tight, but because these plates aren't necessarily parallel, I had to go and loosen this whole thing to squeeze these two together. What happens is this plate goes in between that black and the outer plate. So it's like this piece, that black piece, that piece, and then that far end piece. That's how they sandwich together. Okay, this is all straightforward, I guess. And again, if it doesn't have a nylon nut, you should thread lock it because the nuts are just extremely loose. Okay, so I haven't done the weapons yet because I want to just show you can buy this on its own. And now I'll show you actually on the thing. Tightening the joints. They do give you these tools, but the joints need to be somewhat tight. So tight that I actually bent the tool. The tool actually splayed open. So I want to measure these nuts for you, and I really recommend you get some sort of proper either thicker end wrenches like this, or literally just hexagonal nut drivers, so you can really tighten those things down. So let me tell you the smallest nut size, and these are the ones that rattle loose so easily. These are probably M4s. You're going to need an M4 nut driver. Yeah. Okay. And then the medium sized one, you're going to need I don't know if it's point to point. I guess it's probably a 5mm nut. This one, well, this one could be 5. Maybe the other one is 4.5. Unfortunately, these tools I have don't actually tell you what size they are. It's kind of stupid. They're made in Japan, but they weren't thinking when they made these. So there's no indication as to what size they are. So I apologize for that. Yeah. So almost every bag of nuts and bolts came with one extra nut, bolt, or washer. So it's really great that they give you those extra bits. But I think if you use the thread lock, you'll never need to use these. I did drop a few. They just flew off somewhere and I managed to find them again, but they fell on the floor here because they're just so small. So you want to make sure maybe you want to do this in a tray or something to keep the things from rolling off a table. Okay, let's actually go into the model, or whatever you would call this thing. It's quite huge. I guess I should try to measure the longest length of this thing. I tighten the joints a lot because I don't want the thing just drooping over time. And actually, while I'm doing this, you can get an idea of the articulation. In fact, let me do some of that now. So the jaws, they just close in and out. I'm not sure why they chose to do this, but they give you these brass, like standoff nuts for the jaws. I don't know why they didn't just give you some of the small nuts that you find on the legs, but for some reason you just have this brass color here. I guess it's just for color. Alright, so yeah, those vertical things going into that plate, and then the horizontal ones are holding this whole chest cavities area together. So you gotta do it the way it's instructed for sure. Okay, well anyways, those goes in and out, and then there is a magnet that actually comes with it. So I took out the insulation, and you can see it turned on. It goes to flashing the second time. The third time, it's kind of like a breathing effect. I'm going to turn the lights off. And then the fourth time it goes off. So 1, it's on. 2, I did it too fast. Yeah, flashing, it's kind of silly. I think either on or breathing is the way to go. Right, and then 4 turns it off. So I'm going to do it in the back now. Well, actually, I'll just turn that on for some light. Just put the magnet somewhere around the back there. It's on. I'll turn the other side on. Okay. I don't know where the magnet wants to... Oh, somewhere around there. Now it's in breathing mode. Off. No, see? You have to... Well, maybe it's there. Oh, okay. Yeah. Somewhere in the lower, like 7, 8 o'clock position. Yeah, if you time it, you know, they can go on and breathe in different instances. So it's pretty cool, right? This ring of LEDs. Really neat. All right, I can turn the lights back on. Okay, so that's cool. So they do have they have a yellow one, the Black Widow one, like a smoke color. I think there's a fourth color, and then there's 2 solid colors as well. Anyhow, it's pretty sweet. All right, so the jaws this doesn't rotate, even though it looks like it gears, because those horizontal bolts are holding the whole rib cavity together. So only these jaws can go in and out. Okay, so now the legs. So the first point of articulation is this bolt here, so you can go, you know, forward and back. And then the second point of articulation is this bolt here, so you can spin this, as you can see here, spin it that way or that way. Okay. And then the third point of articulation is this bolt here. So now you can move the leg up and down, or the thigh up and down. Ooh, yeah, this is gonna be crazy. Yep, like that. All right, and then you have, like, I guess you would call that maybe an elbow joint. And then your hand joint, or your tiptoes. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of articulation per leg. Very neat. As far as how can you get those legs? Well, they're colliding with the jaw, but you can actually get the 2 front legs essentially parallel to each other. Oh, yeah, it's kind of like an orb weaver when they hang out. I'm curious about the back leg, so I got to move the rear abdomen all the way up almost. Look at that. That's kind of weird looking, but it can be done. These can actually touch each other. So you could probably even cross over the legs because there's nothing colliding back down here. Just to show you here. Obviously the middle short legs are going to collide with the outer legs in most cases. Unless possibly you spin this a certain way. Yeah, I don't know. No. Yeah, it's colliding. It's not. I guess that's as forward and back as you can get them. Alright. So now, just trying to see here. You can't actually bend 90 degrees down, it seems. Yeah, it's colliding right there. So this is as far down as I can bend these legs. I thought it would be cool if they could actually be like vertical. So I'm trying to get a really tight stance here. I got like serrations and stuff. Now it looks as close to an octopus as I can get it. Right? That would actually be a logical thing for them to try to make an octopus. Although with metal, maybe it can't be done. Yeah, they would have to have 6,000 nuts and bolts to look like the suckers. But it would be interesting. Alright, so yeah, that's as compact as I can get the thigh areas. The rest you'd have to bend the elbows and stuff like that. Suffice to say, most of it being metal, the shiny bits you see here are stainless steel. The anodized purple is aluminum, and then you have a little bit of brass here and here as well. It's like an insert nut right there. And then these dangerous looking tips here, I think these are milled aluminum. Yeah, they're aluminum. They're not plastic. But this one was loose for some reason, so again, you might want to thread lock this stuff, because otherwise, if it gets loose, you're going to have to take the whole thing apart. So bear in mind, if you do, you don't want to use red thread lock. I did use it in some cases, like here, because I know I'll never need to take that area apart ever. So, but it's recommended, I think, to just use blue. I don't know why they didn't include thread lock in the first place. You know, you can buy the cheap things of thread lock just for one-time use, but be prepared to get some. Okay, so yeah, that can go that high up. Let me get those legs out of the way and see how far down we can get that rear. I believe this plastic might be polycarbonate. I think I saw that in a listing somewhere online. So that can actually go pretty far down. Funky. Very funky. I guess you could get some crazy poses because you could actually twist these legs upwards probably. Oh, this is getting loose. I'm going to have to tighten that later. See, you can, I don't know how or why you would pose a spider this way, but you could. Why would you want a spider doing that? I guess it's like flipping the bird off to you. A spider, hey, you know, take off, eh? I think I do need the rear one to be down though. It is nice that these parts, this one at least, has an R and the other ones are L. So it's because they're kind of similar looking. So, alright. Eventually though, you can't go full 360 because it collides here. I'm not sure why they did that. I guess they just needed some extra strength to brace this stuff. So there's a cross bolt here. And these nuts, again, they fell off all the time. So, gotta thread lock it. So the more you move it around, the looser it gets because the metal is polishing itself. But again, you have nylocks, you can just tighten it again, and hopefully it'll be fine. I don't know if this is something you're supposed to play with a lot, but it's metal to metal contact points. There are a few brass washers every now and then in here. I think that the tip toes, they have brass washers, but oddly, not here in the elbow area, and none in the actual like shoulder area. Okay, I think that's it. As far as the stock one, these don't spin. Well, actually they do, but if you do that, see, it's getting loose now. See, my bad. Look what I did. So yeah, luckily something's causing friction on the bolt head, so I tightened it. But yeah, it would have been neat if those things could spin, but they would have to probably add ball bearings or something like that. So as you can see, you can tighten it up that it's only standing on 3 legs right now. So pretty neat. It kind of looks like one of those dancing wolf spiders now. Okay, we're gonna put this aside now. I'm gonna take a quick look at these guns again, and well, not again. We're gonna take a look at these guns, see what they look like in the packaging, and then you can choose to fast forward or whatnot through the build. General of Wealth Ruyi. Does that say that on all of them? Yeah, it does. So that's kind of weird. Alright. This is the 4 missile launcher. Still got a professional color assembly guide. So this is a folded piece of paper. Steps, 10 steps it looks like. What should be in the box? Alright, so these should be pretty easy compared to the spider itself. And what's another great thing with that spider, and most likely this, the bags of the nuts and bolts are actually stacked in order. So this is the first bag you want to open, A1. Then the one under that would be A3 probably, because this is 1 and 2. Yeah, same methodology, I guess. Blister and all that stuff. Very cool. Look at these. Change the angle here. See what's, I think it's all die cast. Yeah, I think these things are metal. Yeah, that's thick and cold to the touch, so I don't want to actually take them all out. Oh boy, I don't think I have a choice now. I've now totally messed up the part order. Well, luckily there aren't too many, so I'll figure that out. These tips, missile tips, yeah, these are definitely anodized aluminum. But I think the black stuff is maybe die cast, not CNC machined, like those other ones are CNC machined. I don't know. Not sure if that's CNC machined. I have a suspicion it's die cast. Okay, and then it gives you the same set of tools, so you got some backups, but again, they're not the greatest tools. Probably want to just invest in some better ones. Well, I don't know. Depends if you're into making things. Alright, so nothing left in that one. So we'll put that away for now. Let's look at the inside of this one. Same deal. We'll look at these parts. Anodized gold. Looks like this was sandblasted before it was anodized. And then the magnetic control. Why? Is there a light in this? Whoa, I think this, maybe that blue thing. I think there might be a light inside of this weapon. And again, same tools. I don't know if the other one did. I guess we'll find out. Alright, so I'm going to start assembling these. I guess I'll start with this one. It's up to you if you want to watch me build it. Okay, so regarding the weapons here, so I built this one first. This is a box. It's kind of a pain to put together. It starts with this thing going across the whole way, but you might want to actually assemble this part first. It just seems easier because you can loosen both of these bolts, whereas this just has that one nut and only a few threads grabbing it. Otherwise, it's pretty fine. This thing, depending on how tight it is, it can spin, but I don't really want mine to spin too freely. This also, actually there's a part. This part here was called to be holding this bolt head, but it would space it out so much that you couldn't catch the nylon in that nut. So I decided to remove it so then I can adjust the tension of the nylon to allow these to spin. You lose a little detail, this thing, but so shiny. Yeah, it's no big deal for me. Okay, so yeah, I took the battery thing out, and there's a light back here. Right, so same type of light flashing. Third one will be a breathing effect. Sorry, I didn't realize I was out of focus. Yeah, and then the fourth one stops. Right, so that's cool. No light though in this one here. So you gotta be really mindful of tensioning this before you put it together, because the other side of like this bolt is trapped inside here. Same with this tensioner. The nut is inside, so I had to take it apart in order to adjust the tension. So I would suggest you just have it very tight, because once you move it, it's going to loosen anyways. But if you don't tighten it a lot, you're going to have to take the whole thing apart again. So with that said, I would say do not use a weak thread lock, because chances are you are going to have to take this apart, especially like this one. If you're going to replace the battery, you're going to have to take the thing apart. So okay, well anyways, both of them, they can obviously pivot up and down, and then they can also pivot in and out, at least before they collide with each other. So that's pretty cool. Nothing really moves on this one. No, not really. Just looks cool. But this one, yeah, this thing moves and this thing moves. These don't move or anything like that. Honestly, I think it looks fine without the weapons. If you want to save some money, just get the spider itself. But yeah, I now have a totally maxed out spider. So I would say in most instances it's around a 1 foot or a 30 centimeter footprint, because it would be weird to just splay it all out on the ground. So, and then the height's going to vary quite a bit, so you're not going to display it fully up either. So it's somewhere around like 30 centimeters, and then with these weapons maybe 20 centimeters high. Without the weapons, maybe 16 centimeters high, if I just roughing it, of course. So it's quite an impressive thing. I like how they come with these little, the magnet thing. I'm gonna put it on breathing mode. Okay. Let's do one more night shot here. My camera makes it look a lot brighter. It's simply not this bright. I mean, I can see the lights, but I can't really see the legs so much. Well, I guess I can. It's just slightly brighter through the camera screen, but it still looks pretty awesome. Yeah, definitely for sure. Very cool. Okay, where's my light switch? Okay, well, boy, if I had to guess, this took like 6 to 8 hours. Possibly because I'm videoing it, but I think if you've never built a metal thing like this, even if you're a skilled model maker, it'll take probably at least 4 hours. But I think you should factor in 6 to 8 hours, so it could be good, Obviously, these things took some time as well, so if you skip that, you're going to shave off some time. It's not I don't think it's meant to be a quick build, right? You're supposed to enjoy the process and enjoy the engineering of it. So it's really neat. I've seen the other metal puzzles or whatever you want to call these things, and I'm not really sold on their designs. Like there's a scorpion one, like an angelfish and stuff like that. I'm just not feeling it. So hopefully they can come out with a different design that I like. I wouldn't mind like actually a beetle, some beetles like with the shells like this, but you know the metallic legs and stuff. That might be interesting. I'm not sure if you could make a snake. I mean, a snake would have tons of segments, and then maybe they could have some little plastic parts for the skin of the snake. That would be crazy. And then you could articulate that like crazy as well. Alright, anyhow, very cool stuff. I'm quite impressed. There's a whole bunch of extra parts amongst the two. I liked all three. This is all they have, and then I now have 3 toolkits from this thing as well. Granted, they're not the greatest tools. Instructions were very clear, so it's very well engineered. I tend to complain a lot in a lot of my videos because a lot of toys are just really not designed very well. Probably because they're meant for children. But this thing, I don't know if it's even considered a toy. This was designed by an adult that obviously knew what they were doing. So I'm very impressed. So highly recommend it. Alright, thanks. And enjoy your metal model making.